the New York Times.
Yes.
For folks who haven't heard this story, have you talked about it on the air yet?
I have not.
All right. They fired a veteran science writer for using a racial slur.
Yes.
But it's how this all came about. This guy was babysitting a bunch of teenagers on a New York Times-sponsored trip to Peru. They're at dinner. A student asked this guy, McNeil, about the suspension of a 12-year-old for using that particular word. McNeil, to put it in context, said, did you use blank? Talking about a rap song? Did you use, So McNeil gets home. His bosses scold him, but they say, well, that's not enough to terminate you, until 150 of his colleagues demand he get fired, and he was.
Yeah, so then do you look at the idea that, hey, why would they fire the guy just because the colleagues said it, or do you look at they should have fired him in the first place?
I don't think he should have been fired at all. I mean, he was not using it in a pejorative sense. He was using it in an actual discussion with some kids.
Yeah.
And why? And it's just crazy.
I mean,
cancel culture is just crazy.
Listen, the whole cancel culture thing is a different conversation, a much deeper and longer conversation. You saw Gina Carano yesterday or the day before being removed from The Mandalorian because she compared being a Republican to the Holocaust, which you just shouldn't do. In fact, really, you shouldn't compare anything to the Holocaust unless, of course, it's the Holocaust. That's it. It's its own thing. There's a reason why, and I was explained to this by my Jewish grandmother way back, and boy, did it stick with me. There aren't have you ever noticed, Ed, that nobody ever has to say, oh, the World War II Holocaust or the Holocaust in the 40s. All you have to say is the period Holocaust period. There is no other. There wasn't a medieval Holocaust. There wasn't a.
There was a Spanish Inquisition, but it wasn't a Holocaust.
It was the Holocaust. It is its own thing. You don't compare anything to it. And when it comes to, listen, I mean, I don't want to fire everybody up here. Here's my thing, Ed. Don't ever say the N-word, ever, in any context, ever. You can say, you know why? Because we know what we say when we say the N-word. You know what I mean? Everyone knows what I mean. You don't have, there is no other, nobody is hearing me say, don't say the N-word and going, oh, does he mean Nancy? Does he mean Neanderthal?
Neurosurgeon?
No,
but I don't ever want to insult or demean anyone, so I don't use those words. But we do have freedom of speech in this country. And, back in the day, people would defend the Klan. They hate everything the Klan did, but they defend it on free speech.
You have free speech, but listen, the guy's not in jail. That's the thing. That's where people get confused, Ed. You have freedom of speech. You can say what you can't yell fire in a movie theater. There's certain things you can't say. You can say, I literally right now, just to give an example, I could say the N-word. I could say horrible things about women. I could compare my cell phone to the Holocaust. I could do I could
be on the radio.
I'm not going to be on the radio. I'm never going to have a career again. I'm going to be a pariah, and I'm going to have to go move somewhere. And you have freedom of speech, not
but you have consequences. My point here is these consequences didn't meet what he was doing. He was instructing kids trying to speak in their lingo. And the other thing is, and you know this, in the black community, they use that word like slang.
Yeah, and they can.
For them,
and that's their right. And that's their right. And that is 100% their right. I mean, listen, let's get on this here. And I don't want to, but let's do it. I don't miss not saying that word. I listen to a ton of rap music that says that word. I have karaoke'd rap music, and the word comes up. And you know what I do? I don't say the word. Why? Because it's not. If you want to say it's not fair, okay, let's get a teeter-totter of unfair. And let's put white people can't use that word on one side. And let's put, I don't know, history of the world on the other side. I'm quite comfortable with not using the word. In fact, I'm quite comfortable that in my life, there are things I can't do. There are things I will never be able to do. That's also one of the things I want. And for me, it's fine. I never look at it and go, well, I can't say it. That upsets me.
I mean, you have the right, and you can throw a couple of F-bombs in front of an old lady, but you're not going to do it because you were bred better.
Correct.
Right? So that's what this is about, I think. But it's just gotten insane, and they're all. I mean, they don't even think they're like lemmings. They just he said that word, he's got to be fired.
But honestly, isn't the answer don't say the word?
The answer is don't say the word. But you know what troubles me? This whole thing, this cancel culture. It's like McCarthyism in reverse, and you know the parents, the grandparents of some of these people, you know, they were put in terrible straits because you know they were allegedly communist or this or that, and they didn't learn from that. Now they're doing it to another group of people.
I mean, you and I are on different sides of this, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree, and I respect you. And
no, we're not really on different sides. I use those words.
I think listen. One of my best friends was fired from his job, and I have a lot of deep feelings about that, and I don't address it. Yeah. I've addressed it, and I've said I will not address it again because I'm way too involved. I personally think. Listen, has anybody ever been canceled that didn't deserve it? Yeah, you're right.
You hear the story about how Vince Lombardi dealt with this issue?
No.
In 1960, I'm quick here. In 1967, when they were, you know, one of their championship years, there was an offensive story told, and they had black players and you know white players. But so he said he decreed if there's going to be any jokes, they're about Belgians because we don't have any Belgians on the team.
Sure,
and that was it.
I mean,
stupid, but
I want to move on, but I think this is too important. We're on opposite sides, not opposite sides. You and I differ when it comes to cancel culture. Now, I wish there was no canceling, but I also wish there was no canceling because there's no reason to cancel. I think sometimes we throw out cancel culture when it's really the days of being able to say what you want and do what you want and not worry about having aggrieved groups organize and stand up and say, enough is enough. We've dealt with this long enough. This isn't cool, and you need to learn. And by the way, other people need to learn from your example of what's going to happen to you to not do this. And are people caught up in it sometimes that maybe shouldn't be? I don't know. Yeah, sure, fine.
If a guy is cleaning his gun and it goes off and it kills somebody, should that person get the same jail sentence as a hitman who plotted a murder?
No, but
that's my point here. Is that this guy didn't use the word derogatory towards a colleague. He was just saying it to explain something to kids.
I mean, every individual thing should be looked at individually. I agree. I don't think that I don't like whataboutism. Well, on either side, don't like whataboutism. But to your point about the cleaning the gun, the guy did not trip and fall and say the N-word. You know what I'm saying? This is not an accident. He didn't accidentally, jumble through and go up here. Now we can discuss the difference in levels between how he said it and if he had gone up on stage with a megaphone. Yes, that there are certainly levels to that. I just, again, it's...
Remember the good old days when you only had to worry about ratings?
Yes. And damn it, I want to move on, but this is important. Ed, yes, I do remember that. And I'm going to be very, for lack of a better term, vulnerable here. I think about everything I say now. I think about everything I tweet now. I'm scared to death of making the wrong comparison or the wrong analogy or saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing or offending the wrong group. But that's my struggle, Ed. I'm using air quotes.
I know.
That's my
our struggle. I go through the same thing in a limited way because you're on the air for 3 hours. I'm on a couple of minutes.
I'm okay with that struggle. Yeah. I'm okay with it. When I compare my struggle to the struggle of others, I'm okay.
You're not digging ditches in Siberia.
I'm not digging ditches in Siberia, and my grandfather didn't have a fire hose turned on him because he wanted a soda at the counter for Whitey's. I'm okay with my struggle. I'm okay with me having to be more aware, more careful, more thoughtful. I'm okay with that, even if it takes a little bit of extra work, because I know that the work I have to do, again, air quotes, work I have to do does not compare to the work others have had to do. Ed, it's a good conversation. We'll move on. Thank you, and we'll talk again at 8:30. Right. That is Ed Crane, top and bottom of the hour. 339-1140, 1